Hello, everybody. Vader here. For Bar School Lesson 2. This is an economy intro, and you notice I have a game going that is paused. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to run through basic economy, just real quick. Really, if you need too much intro to basic economy, you should probably just play the game. But there is a few things worth noting that we can go over real quick. And then after that, I'm gonna show three essential to understand starting like the first 2 minutes, right? You can separate economy and the game into three different phases: the start of the game, the middle of the game, and the end game. And those are all basically based on your amount of energy production that is available. Not metal production, energy production, because energy production can, at that point, towards the end game, become something that you convert into metal. So when we're talking about the phases of the game from the economy perspective, we're mostly talking about energy, and a little bit talking about upgrading our mexes to T2 mexes, right? So the first thing about the economy that's worth noting is it's what I like to call a streaming economy. If you've played Supreme Commander or Total Annihilation or whatever, you're used to this kind of economy. But basically, so I've paused this game before my commander. Notice right now we have a bunch of numbers up here at the top of the screen. The first one, if you're used to Supreme Commander and haven't played Total Annihilation before, this is a wind speed, and this affects how much energy you get from wind turbines. So wind turbines and solar collectors are your initial starting ability to build energy. Solar collectors only cost metal. That's important to know. In fact, I think it's the only structure that only costs metal besides like walls and stuff. This is an interesting balance that you have to make here at the beginning of the game. Is wind turbines are more efficient, but they're risky because your wind can drop. And solar collectors cost a lot of mass, but they give you a straight 20 energy no matter what's going on. Basically our starting builds, our first 2 minutes, whether you build wind turbines or whether you build solar collectors has a large impact on the number of units you can get before the approximately 2 minutes and 30-second mark. And that's what we're going to go through in the second half of this video. But first, let's talk about basic economy. I do have a few complete noobs joining my team, so I got to go over some of the basics real quick. So you have metal and energy. Metal is like cash. Metal is the primary important resource. No, when we build, so let's go ahead and let this play in the background a little bit. So build these are metal extractors. So metal is more scarce, right? If you look at how much metal, let's let this thing build. All right, and then I'm gonna pause again when these three are built. I'm gonna pause again, and we're gonna look at these numbers in more detail because interesting things have happened. All right, let's pause right there. So notice right now I am draining a large amount of energy. It costs me 89 energy to build this metal extractor. Now, this isn't a start that you would ever do. What I'm trying to do with this video is show you how detrimental being at an energy deficit is. So we want to spend all of our metal. We don't want to have a large metal storage around. There's very few times. In fact, I'm going to build a metal storage in here for the sake of this demo. I actually recommend never building metal storage unless you're an eco player who needs to reclaim a T2 fabricator. And the reason that is a T2 fabricator represents so much metal that you can't actually hold it all. So when you reclaim your T2 factory, you need to have a metal storage available just for holding all of the metal that a T2 factory represents. Other than that, you really should never build a metal storage. You should be aiming to have enough build power to spend all of your metal. Metal in metal storage is just unrealized damage potential, right? So we want to spend all our metal. We want this to be zero. Actually, we really want it to be like a quarter full. It's nice to have a little spare metal around to dump into a defense that you need to build really quickly, right? So having excess metal, bleeding metal, and bleeding means that you have more than you can store, is a very, very bad thing to do. We never want to bleed metal. At the end of the game, unless you're absolutely creaming your opponents, you should have 0 metal wasted. Energy, on the other hand, is easy to come by. So notice, here's down here in this little quarter. So notice our metal extractors gain us. We're going to call it 2. I'm rounding up. So they gain us 2 metal, and that costs us 3 energy. Now notice that costs us 3 energy, and that's something that this video is going to demonstrate, that energy cost is actually important. And we have storage at the beginning of the game. So we start out with 1,000 metal storage, and then each metal extractor adds 50 storage to that. And we start out with 1,000 energy. And so basically at the beginning of the game, when you're doing your initial 2 minutes of build, what you're really doing is balancing between the amount of metal that you have available and the amount of energy that you have available. And right now, I am just doing a demonstration of what happens when you run an energy deficit. So this game is a streaming economy. I like to call games like this, they have a streaming economy. I'm going to let this run in the background. What's happening in the background is not important right now. We want to get to, I think, the 3-minute mark. So let's just speed this up a little bit. But streaming economy essentially means that you can't build up resources, right? This isn't Rise of Nations, right? This isn't Rise of Nations. This isn't Dawn of War. This isn't Company of Heroes. You don't have infinite storage. You have finite storage. And so what you want to do is balance the amount of build power you have available with the amount of energy that you have available, while claiming as much mass as possible. Energy represents the ability to deliver mass in terms of build power. So we'll get into the balance of build power versus energy and metal in the next 3 replays that I bring up for this video. But it's important to remember that these things are streaming in and out, and it's very easy to waste them. We don't want to waste metal at all, and we want to minimize the amount of energy that wastes. We do have energy converters, so energy waste can be viewed as metal waste. If you're an economy player or a air player, you should aim to waste 0 resources. If you're a front player, wasting energy is kind of expected. You don't want to waste a ton of it, but you don't want to be paying so much attention to your economy that you're ignoring the value of your commander on the front line, or you're not microing your units, right? It's more important to get everything you can out of your units than to build every unit possible, right? And if you're really good at the game, you can pull off both. But if you're not, one of the top 500 players, or if you're not in the top 20% of players, you're gonna bleed energy in favor of taking good care of your units, and that is absolutely okay. There is one thing that's really, really bad, and we're coming up to that scenario right here. Let's pause it. Notice that I'm at an energy deficit, and see these little lightning marks above my metal extractors? What that's saying is that I have so little energy available that my metal extractors are no longer working. We have let's count our metal extractors. So remember, they're worth 2 apiece. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. We have 24 metal per second worth of metal extractors, but our income is only +9. So let's talk about these numbers in a little bit of detail. So the +9 stands for our income. The +30 over here stands for our energy income. This -169 is the amount of energy drain, the amount of build power that we are delivering if we had that much energy available. So if we had 1,000 energy storage available right now, we would be draining it at 169 energy per second. We have 0 energy drain. The only thing I'm building right now is an energy converter, and they only cost energy. It costs 1 metal and 1,150 energy. It only costs energy. So right now we're only draining energy, but we're draining so much energy that our metal extractors are not working. That is an absolutely terrible scenario to be in. So you want to have that. Like I said, as a front player, you want to have excess energy so that you can, do things like use your commander's D-gun, so that you can cloak your commander. And what you want to be able to do is cloak your commander without halting your metal income. Anytime you have so little energy that you are halting your metal income, you are in a bad position. So when we're talking about the first 2 minutes of the game, what we're looking at is having enough metal available to do cool things with it while not draining our energy too much, and we need to build some energy and we need to watch our wind. So with that, let's go and look at some other rebus. But that's your basic economy intro. And to summarize, we want to have as much metal income as we can. We don't want to waste metal. Energy, we want to have slightly excess energy. We want, wherever this energy conversion slider stands for the amount of energy storage that you have available before your energy converters kick in. So right here we will have to have 900 energy available before this energy converter even starts converting energy. Like if you're down here, your energy converters won't work. You can drag this all the way down, but then you don't have spare energy available. Spare energy is good if you need to, like I said, use your D-gun, cloak your commander, or emergency build some type of defense, usually an air defense. Air defenses take a lot of energy. So that's your basic economy. Let's go ahead and load. So I have 3 replays here, and they're all important starting combinations, and I think my first one you'll be able to see early on which one it is, and then I'm gonna pause and watch because I made these replays last night and I don't quite remember, and also I made some mistakes in these, so you can definitely improve upon these. I'm doing this in a competitive way, so I actually don't want to show the best stuff, but I do want to give you clues on how you can make your own builds and figure them out for yourself. So this is not a perfect gameplay footage. It's just expressing the idea, and I think
battle started.
I separate my builds into 3 categories. One is a rush, the other one is neutral, and the final one is eco. And this is going to be our neutral start. And the reason this is our neutral start, we're building a solar array. Solar arrays are expensive. It's 155 metal. So we can't call it a rush. We're wasting metal. And what we're wasting metal on is the ability to know that if our wind drops, we're still going to be okay. You don't want your entire front row to do a pure rush. A pure rush is just windmills, because that saves you the most amount of metal in terms of building units, right? So if we were doing a pure rush, we would only build windmills and we'd be praying for good wind. And what that allows us is the maximum amount of metal available to build units. So this is not a pure rush because we built a solar panel, but this solar panel will protect us from bad wind situations. So we build a solar panel, and when you're watching the factory timing, basically what you want to do is you want to watch your energy income, and when your energy income hits like 60 to 80, you wanna force your factory in. I didn't do that this time. Like I said, I'm not trying to do perfect footage, but for these 4 windmills is a good average for that. You can do it on as little as 2 if you have really high wind, and you can take as many as 5 or 6 if you're in a really bad wind situation. So if you want to do the lazy route, I just queue up 4. 4 is the average. But if you're doing this start really well, what you're doing is if you hold space bar and put down a factory, it will add the factory in the middle of your build queue. And so if you're doing this well, what you want to look for is at least 60 energy, with at least half of your storage available, and that will allow you to build your factory without stalling your eco and stalling your metal. Notice the second that my metal storage is down, basically after I've built almost, I think this is 10, is it 10? 9. After I've built 9 or 10 solars and an energy storage, I send my commander walking to the front lines. I do have him build metal extractors along the way. His build power is so strong that it's good to have your commander build this. If you're playing really aggressive, you could build 3 engineers and have them build your metal extractors. That's another way to do it. But I just don't find getting to the middle first isn't that much of an advantage. Building that first laser tower doesn't really help you that much if your opponent is smart and brings artillery, right? That's all it takes to defeat that early laser tower. And what I mean by that early laser tower, I mean, you know, we're clearly the front line is fighting over this 3-2. Right, this 3.2 metal extractor is really valuable because when you put a T2 metal extractor on it, it's worth 12 metal, which is insanely efficient. So you want to get your commander to the front line early, but early as possible isn't the trick. What we want is to have our commander up here at about the 4 to 5 minute mark with plenty of backup units. And notice I'm moving my units up in a line. I have 4 blitzes and 2 spy units, and my commander is almost here. So we're going to get up here at the 5 minute mark with plenty of ammunition to fight. Look, I even have a Janus coming, and the Janus is going to be up here at the 5 minute mark. That is a lot of ammunition. We have a stout, we have 4 blitzes, we have 2 spy units, and we have a Janus that are all going to be up here at the 5 minute mark. That is more than enough to challenge a player who just walked their commander up here. In fact, if they did that without building the metal, they're going to lose.
Battle paused.
They will win it for a while. Battle pause. That means that's the end of my meaningful. I stopped building things. But this is your neutral start. And the benefit of your neutral start is it's good defense. So if you were watching carefully, our first blitz came out at like the 2:15 mark, which is way before anybody will be able to send a rover at you. And so it's a good defensive build. You're not going to get caught off guard. And if I had let this go to the 5 minute mark, we would have a Whistler, a Stout, and a Janus up here, ready to duke it out over, basically over this territory right here. Oh no, sorry, we're in this position, so we're fighting over this. Right, so we're trying to help defend. We're trying to help take over this 3-2. We're trying to help take over this 3-2, based on basically how how did this person get raided and need to slow down, or did this person get raided and need to slow down? Right, that's this position's job is to kind of support whichever 3-2 needs the support. So that's it. That's the neutral start. And the neutral start, again, we start with the solar collector that drains a little bit of metal, but it allows us to be positive that we'll have energy available. Therefore, we'll have those blitzes come out at the 2:15 mark every time, instead of maybe not. And if your whole front line does only solars, and you end up with bad wind, and their whole front line does this build, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose every time. So absolutely, half of your players on the front line should use a neutral build. All right, so let's go and show the rush. I hope I bring up the right replay here. I think this is my rush video.
Battle started.
Okay, so in the rush video, what you're gonna see, we're only gonna build 2 mexes, and building 2 mexes, in the rush, you can actually get away with only building 1 metal extractor. I don't like to do that, and the reason I don't like to do that is every bit of metal that you have early in the game has an exponential compound interest effect. So on a big map like this, a 1 metal extractor start, it just isn't worth it. You you're gonna get to the opponent with 2 blitzes and 2 spy units at the 2 to 215 mark, and 5 seconds worth of metal extractor building just doesn't do that much. Now, the reason we don't build the 3rd metal extractor is because it would drain too much energy. We want to have some energy storage available. Notice I have 6 windmills, and I already was able to interrupt and build our factory. So our factory is going to be online at like the 1 minute 15 mark, and that's really good. We have really good wind, so we were able to do that. If I were doing any other kind of build, I would be interrupting, and oh, there I go, I interrupted and build an energy converter. If you're doing a truly committed rush, you would actually skip this energy converter. You would accept that bleed of energy for the sake of getting your factory done a little sooner. So this is a me thing. I'm an eco guy, so even when I do my rush, my habits are to build this energy converter. That's not necessarily a good thing. That's honestly, as a person doing a rush, that building that energy converter was probably a mistake. Because the thing that we care about most is getting these blitzes to the opponent as soon as possible. Notice I build the blitzes first. Blitzes are slow. Another mistake that I made was I should have sent those blitzes out the second one was done. I should have had them moving. So you can improve upon this. I'm not a rush guy. I will never be the rush guy. The players that the positions that I play are eco or the more supporty frontline characters. I'm never going to do a rush. I prefer to control the middle. If we're playing somebody who's really good, this is for my teammates. If we're playing somebody who's really good, I can do a rush well, and I might take that position. If there's like a team that's imbalanced that holds only one good player, I would whip out a decent rush. But this rush video is me not thinking about doing a rush properly and honestly making a few mistakes. In fact, I already see a couple other mistakes. Like the fact that I have this energy storage half done while needing to build an energy converter. I built too many windmills. I'm low on metal, and my commander is staying in the base for too long. Like, there's a bunch of mistakes that I made here, so you can improve upon this. But the thing that matters is we're down here putting pressure on whoever we want to with some spies and some blitzes well before the 3-minute mark. You should aim a good rush. If you're doing it really well, you should get here at about 2:15. And that's when if you're practicing a rush, try and get these units to one of these starting positions at the 2:15 mark. And B, if you're creating your own kind of style of whatever build you want to do, whether it's the committed rush, whether it's the neutral build, or whether it's the eco build, you should use that 2:15 mark as the measure of did you get your defenses out in time. And clearly you need to be ready to defend against this. You can also, if you're doing a rush, another thing you can do is have all rovers, if this metal worth of rovers would be like 6 to 8 rovers, right? And rovers in mass actually do a fair amount of damage. So I like blitzes.
Battle paused.
The reason I like blitzes is I don't know what that line is there. That's interesting. The reason I like blitzes is they're powerful enough to do damage. And take out windmills on their own. If somehow you end up with a lone rover just can't do very much damage. Maybe it can take out a metal extractor, but when you're doing a rush, you should really target the enemy's energy, not their metal. It's nice to knock down a metal extractor, but they're so easy to rebuild. And if a metal extractor that's down for 30 seconds is like 60 metal total, that's not even a whole unit's worth of metal. Whereas if you attack their energy and you knock out an array of windmills, that's gonna A, hit their build power, and B, like we went over in the intro, cost them large amounts of metal because their metal extractors are gonna start shutting down. So when you're doing a rush, you're really aiming to take out some energy. And don't pass the metal extractor by, like you're going, because if you have 2 blitzes walking past a metal extractor, they'll kill it before it's gone, right? Don't pass up free eco damage, but your target is energy. So that's the rush, and the characteristics of the rush. Notice we did not build any solar panels. We did build an energy storage. We want to get that energy storage down before our commander leaves. And a couple mistakes I made were leaving my commander in the base for too long. Basically, with the rush, we're aiming to slow down the person in our lane, and if we successfully slow down the person in our lane, we get the commander up there nice and early to build a bunch of defenses, and this 3-2 becomes ours really solidly. So that's the rush, and finally, we are going to do an eco build. And an eco build. This is my specialty. So when you're watching the eco build, this is a really good eco build, and it's probably going to surprise some people the decisions that I make, but they're for good reason. And I'll explain some of them, and I won't explain some of them because eco is my position, and that's my competitive.
Battle started.
So first off, you'll note is we're starting at this position. And this is actually, I think, in my opinion, the most powerful eco position in any of the maps, besides maybe some of the maps that have a large amount of energy available. Right? If you're talking about a map where the starting position is building mexes and reclaiming a little bit of metal, this position is really strong, and I'll show you why it's really strong. But notice I'm primarily building solar panels, and the reason I'm primarily building solar panels is in an eco build you're not building units, so we actually have we have plenty of metal available, so there's no reason for us to risk low wind at all. In fact, it's our job to not risk wind, so we want to build a few solars. So I built 3 solars and 3 winds. And I knocked down a bot lab as soon as possible. The reason we do bot labs is not actually, people say it's cheaper. It's not actually cheaper. It actually balances out. Like a tier 1 factory is more expensive than a tier 1 vehicle factory is more expensive than a T1 vehicle bot factory. But a T2 vehicle factory is less expensive than the T2 bot factory. It actually balances out. The reason that we want to do bots is for the reclaim. This reclaim unit is really important to us. We want to reclaim as much as we can. I generally ask my player over here to give me this metal as the eco guy, and this player here to give me this metal. So I'm reclaiming a little bit more metal than is around my base, but I'm the eco player, and that's a good thing for me to do. This player here and this player here should want the eco player to take that metal. It lets me get that T2 factory out really quick, and when I get that T2 factory out really quick, you get a T2 engineer, and you end up benefiting from the compound interest of having your eco player claim these 3 metal spots. So always let your eco player claim these 3 metal spots. It helps them out a lot, and it doesn't really impact you. Like 96 metal is 1 unit. Like if you can't micro your way out of a 1 unit difference on a defensive posture, that's your problem, right? Okay, so the other thing I did, I used my commander to build. I built these 3 in a row. That leaves me at an energy deficit for like a 0.1 second. But then we get straight into building these soldiers, which don't cost any energy, so our energy is allowed to recover. And we have 2 engineers. Our first engineer is going to build this metal extractor and this metal extractor. Our second engineer is going to come over here and build advanced solars. Our reclaim bot is going to come and reclaim the bot lab and our 3 solars. That's why this isn't a bad idea, because we are going to reclaim these solars before we get down to 0 metal. So basically what we've done is build these solar panels for the sake of not caring about what the wind does. 3 solar panels at the beginning of the game lets us completely ignore the wind, and we're gonna have these advanced solars come up, which are really efficient. So this is a plain old solar collector costs us 155 metal for 20 energy back. An advanced solar collector costs 350 and 75. So twice the cost, a little over twice the cost for a little under 4 times the energy. So these are really efficient, and we need to build 6 of them. And the reason we need to build 6 of them is our T2 bot factory is actually pretty expensive on energy. Notice that we're building a construction turret. Notice the positioning of this construction turret. This construction turret can help us build 5 metal extractors. It can help us upgrade 5 metal extractors. That's insane. This is the single best positioning of a construction turret in the entire game. This is really powerful, and your eco player should always take advantage of this fact, because it allows us to build. Our build power is 2 engineers and a construction turret and our commander, and that's it. This is an exceptionally efficient build from the point of view of converting metal into build power. We need very little metal to have a lot of build power, and basically if you're practicing this build, your goal should be to get this bot lab up by the 545 mark. 530 is good. 515 is really good. You will only hit that 515 if you have excellent wind conditions and perfect timings on all of your thing. But if you're hitting the 530 mark, you're being very competitive, and your team will be happy to get their T2s all by like the 7 to 8 minute mark. So that's good. Another important thing is we blow up our commander. We absolutely need. Notice I'm negative 39 and plus 12. This commander is sacrificed, and that allows us to get over the hump. And let's watch the timing on this. I think this looks like if I were to guess, this looks like a 528 timing, which is, like I said, competitive. If you're doing it really well, and maybe if you spam out 1 more engineer because you have a lot of metal available, you can hit 515. But if you're hitting, there we go, 530. If you're hitting 530,
Battle paused.
You're not going to be disappointing your team at all. In fact, 545 is even good. And anything before the 6 minute mark qualifies as what I would consider competitive. But 530 is what this build allows, and this is a really good eco build. Let's review the things of an eco build. In eco build, we build our 3 starting mexes right in a row. Why? Because eco builds, we want every single bit of spare metal we can get to build our T2 factory as soon as possible. Every bit of metal that we can grab is worthwhile. So we build our 3 mexes, our 3 starting mexes first, even though that caused us to be negative on energy for a second. It's worth it because we get like 20 seconds to 30 seconds of spare metal over building the requisite amount of windmills to not stall. It takes 2 or 3 windmills actually to not stall, because windmills themselves cost energy to build. So it's actually a lot better to build 3 mexes and stall for that half to 2 seconds. It's not very long. So it's worth it, because and we counter that by building 3 solars immediately after that. But those solars are reclaimed before we're at a metal deficit, so the inefficiency of building those solars never appears. The fact that they cost metal literally never shows up. You get all of that metal back before you need the metal for our T2 thing. And then finally, at this point, you're at the between the 4 and 6 minute mark, you can start accepting payments. So if you know you have a team that reliably pays you, you can build an extra engineer or build an extra construction turret. Once this construction turret is done, building another construction turret happens really quick. So you can maybe put a construction turret down here near your secondary wind farm. We're building the secondary wind farm so that we can support the building of an AFUS. In the economy position, you should skip straight to building an AFUS over building a fusion reactor, and that's what this little wind farm down here is for. Because what we want is to have full energy by the time we're starting that AFUS. We start our AFUS after we upgrade all of our mexes. So that's your basic eco build, and like I said, getting a T2 factory. If you can reliably get a T2 factory out before the 6 minute mark, you're a decent eco player. If you can reliably get it in before the 530 mark, you're a top 10 eco player. I've only seen a few people, and certainly I don't think I've seen any online tutorials beat 530. So if you're working together as a team to get this done, you can beat that 530 mark by at least 15 seconds. So that's it. That's the basics of economy. thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, bring them up in the comments.